G'day YouTube, welcome to the channel and happy Australia Day. Today I'm going to attempt to give this Deora a bit of a custom resto, I suppose you'd call it. Now the Deora originally came out in '68 as part of the original Sweet 16. This particular Deora, which I found in a op shop, was from 2003. It came in a 5-pack with movie sci-fi was the theme. Return of the 50-foot Moon Maiden in 3D. All those tampos are really quite hideous and they must go, but not a bad looking model really. And I'm going to use this rattle can of metal cast in blue for a Spectraflame type finish. And as always, to make a start, we just drill some pilot holes through these posts using a 1.5mm drill. And as we need to take it apart, got a larger drill bit in the cordless. We'll take the tops of these posts off. With only the two posts holding together, there's nothing too sinister or complicated here, no suspension to worry about. A nice clean white interior, and I'm not a huge fan of why they make the windscreens blue. Right, and into these posts again with the 1.5mm drill, just go a little bit deeper. And a few drops of some very light oil to lubricate the tap. Here we go. As far as I know, I'm the only person that uses a cordless drill to tap these holes, and probably should be using a hand tap, but I haven't broken anything as yet. So it was a 2mm tap. You can go a couple of 2mm button head screws, and I like to leave the screws in the thread so it doesn't fill up with paint. And also I don't want to squash it when I put the pliers on it. Here's my pre-warmed vase. In goes the Deora. I'm going to use the caustic soda treatment on this, which turned out to be a huge fail. It did not touch it. Yep, gave it the caustic soda treatment twice, and this is the result. It's very, very resilient paint. This most resilient I've come across yet. I was off to the local hardware for some paint stripper, so this should do it. Even though the paint stripper really seemed to struggle to get this paint off as well, I think it had something to do with those rotten tampos. Yeah, I must look into different types of paint strippers, because this stuff really stinks. My original intention was to turn the Deora into a red line, and this is the only actual red line that I have, which I've bought new wheels for and I will do up. But I've used these wheels off this premium Mad car, and they fit perfectly. And yeah, they're reminiscent of red lines of old, and I reckon they look pretty bloody spectacular. So this was just a test fit before I got too carried away, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a roller. Now to start polishing this sucker up. So out comes the wire wheel, and we get right into it. Now of course this casting wasn't as good as what I thought it was going to be. Out come the files to clean it up, some of the flashing and dodgy cast lines. And of course, once you start doing this, you just can't stop. It seems to take forever. Moving on to some wet and dry. I think this is either 800 or 1000. There was a lot of pitting down the side, both sides of this casting, and I seem to file sand, file sand, file sand. It's a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time, but if you want the results, you've got to spend the time doing it. This is just a quick experiment. On the right hand side, we've used that 4-0 superfine steel wool, and on the left, 2000 wet and dry. The steel wool was definitely coming up shinier than the wet and dry, so we wet and dried it first. And then give it a good polish with the superfine steel wool. Okay, it's time for the final polish, and we've got the Autosol metal polish and the rotary tool with like a woolen pad. And we just keep going over it until it's got a nice polish to it. And of course, before we can paint it, we've got to remove any remnants of polish or greasy finger marks, that sort of thing. So I've got some cotton wool, and I'm using alcohol. And after that, I gave it a good rinse in the sink with some detergent and some demineralized water. We'll just give the base, the windscreen, the interior a good wash in some warm soapy water. It's just a drop or two of detergent. And another slightly failed experiment. I really can't say if this worked or not, but I've seen someone else do this on YouTube where they put some ink in their self-polishing floor wax and it tinted their glass, and on their channel it worked really well. On mine, not so much. Okay, we'll bring that base up now to a nice polish. I've got a brass wire wheel here, and I'll just go over the entire base. The rear bumper had a couple of dings in it, so I'm just hitting it with some steel wool, and I'm getting the file out and see if I can get some of those dings out. Out with the rotary tool again and the polishing bit. Got the Autosol metal polish, and we go over this a few times. See if we get a really nice shine. Oh, we're putting things back together. As you can see here, you've got the 3 tabs holding the wheels in. And there's a center one on one side and 2 on the other. Well, I've just ground the center one down, and it leaves enough there to hold the wheels in, but they won't stay in. So I'm just making sure I've got them even there, and I'll put a big dollop of super glue right in the center just to hold everything together. And everything goes back together again. So in goes the slightly tinted windscreen, the interior, which has been cleaned, nice and white. The base did have a bit of oxidation on it, but it polished up beautifully, and fits quite nicely in there with its brand spanking new wheels. Screw it all together. And as a little finishing touch, we'll just chrome the heads of these screws. Oh, just slipping back in time a few days, we'll just remind ourselves of what the return of the 50-foot moon maiden looked like. And here it is now. Got to be really impressed with that metal cast paint. It really does. It really has come up really well. It's such a beautiful finish. I really must pay more attention to the preparation of die cast from now on, because you do seem to get a better finish. It actually looks better in the flesh than what it's come up recorded here. I've done a little bit of detailing on the rear and the front as well. I love this model. I think it's my favourite, and I can really see myself getting in and doing more red lines, if I can find them, of course. And into the cabinet it goes. Nice little special place there right at the front, right next to the Santa's rockin' sleds that we did at Christmas with the kids. Growing up in country New South Wales, Australia, where my father had a newsagent and had Matchbox cars, never saw any Hot Wheels, and it's a real shame, because I've developed a real desire to do them up, and hopefully I will, and learn how to do Spectraframe properly through the airbrush. Anyway, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. This little project has been really satisfying, and I cannot tell you how pleased I am at how well it's come out. Feel free to like and subscribe, or dislike if you feel that I'm doing the wrong thing and not giving these models the respect they deserve. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.